Hello again. I am under my blanket to make some more videos I hate because I feel like I stepped in a steaming puddle of shit. And this is the game. I'm gonna play a quick video from Dr. Joe Dispenza. These people are medical doctors talking about the fifth dimension. There are so many people talking about this shit. And when I woke up and realized that I had memories from being on other planets and understood full fucking well that my soul was a starseed, it sent me straight to starseed videos in which starseeds and people like him, who I'm fucking annoyed at right now too, because I just watched a video of him, my homie, talking about how there are no bad extraterrestrials, they're all good, anything bad is just inner and multi-dimensional beings. That's bullshit. You'll learn spiritual discernment quick. A lot of people are saying a lot of cool shit. But when you've just been skimming surfaces like me, trying to, comprehend how big this fucking game is quick, they don't want you seeing things like this before watching interviews that I'm gonna pull up next about QAnon. And it's hilarious because I had no fucking clue what QAnon was talking about. They got labeled a conspiracy theory or, a terrorist group, and I just kind of had a whole fucking breakdown around that time because, there were angels everywhere crying, and there's a lot of people talking about angels. But watch what this doctor says. Because when you enter the fifth dimension in your mind, when you can push past this 3D fake fucking world, you are Christed. You are awake at a Christ conscious level, and you are literally living in heaven. And they don't fucking want that because these people are anti-real God. They're anti-us.
Fifth dimensional creation has nothing to do with going anywhere to get anything. Because if you combine a clear intention, a coherent thought, coherent brainwave pattern, with a coherent heart, moving into that elevated emotion, thoughts are electric and feelings are magnetic. The magnetism of this center becomes the energy. The intention is carried on that energy. And now you are broadcasting a new signature into the quantum field. Now, if it's done properly and you understand the mechanics, in fifth dimensional creation, you are not going anywhere to get anything. You are actually collapsing space and time, and you are drawing the experience to you. You are the vortex, because when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that potential that exists in the quantum field by tuning a radio dial, when you lock into that frequency, if you keep revisiting that energetic signature over again every single day, then you don't have to go anywhere and get it. The new job finds you. The new house actually finds you. The new relationship finds you because you are the vortex that's drawing the experience to you. So, if you're truly in the creative process, my definition of creation is when I forget about me. I become nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere, in no time. I become pure consciousness. And the moment I reach that elegant moment of the generous present moment, all possibilities in the quantum field exist truly when our brain and body are in the present moment. Getting there is the work. So then,
getting there is the work. Getting there is why the front lines of mental health are falling the fuck apart. People are trying to wake up and grow up and get bad entity attachments the fuck off of them, and they're trying to figure out where the fuck they came from. And when you realize all of this shit and you realize that everybody is a slice of God's source here living temporary human experiences, that's the game. There goes their power.
Most people then create reality from what we call three-dimensional creation. Well, they're matter trying to change matter, and if I am going to get a good job, I'm going to do 100 applications and go on, 20 different interviews, and then it's going to take me 3 months to get a job. I may not even like that job, but I got a job. You want a new sperm donor, you want a new partner, you want a new specimen, you want somebody to live your life with.
Right.
Then you're going to go on Match.com, you're going to spend 2 hours. You're going to take time
Right.
in three-dimensional reality, because real time is defined by us moving through space. And in this dimension, there's way more space than anything else. So we experience time as we take matter through space. That's how people create. You buy the house, 30-year mortgage, you pay it off in 3 years. It takes time to do that. Now, when you teach people how to take their attention off of matter, off of objects, off of the particle, and sense energy and sense space and pay attention to nothing, the moment they begin to open their focus, all of a sudden their brainwaves begin to change from beta to alpha. But not only just alpha, where the imaginary inner world starts to become more real, but very coherent brainwave patterns in alpha. So when you're under stress, you're trying to control that person, that thing, that experience, and your attention is shifting from one thing to the next. Turns out that each one of those things has a neurological network in the brain assigned to it, because we've experienced. As you try to control all these things and your attention is shifting, the brain is very incoherent. Because the moment you open your focus and the brain begins to acclimate, different compartments of the brain begin to unify. They begin to synchronize. And what syncs in the brain links in the brain. When your brain is coherent, you're coherent. When your brain is incoherent, you are incoherent. So we've measured this thousands of times. There'll come a moment in our work during a retreat, as an example, by the third day or so. We'll see very large areas of the brain, huge areas, begin to synchronize together. Then we'll see the left side of the brain talk to the right side of the brain. We'll see the front part of the brain talk to the back part. You see this kind of whole brain state start to take. See it every time. You walk around and look at that person, and you will see tears of joy running down their face. They feel so whole. They feel so complete that it's impossible to want. How can you want when you're whole? And that's the moment the magic happens. We see a strip chart, we're measuring someone's brain, and all of a sudden we just see this brrr, and then there'll be a pause. And then 10 minutes later, brrr, and we know that's downloads. The person is having epiphanies. They're having downloads. They're getting it from the field. Systems tuning in. We're getting raw information that's beyond our senses. The nervous system really is the superconductor of consciousness.
I think it's awfully funny how they went and diagnosed everybody fucking crazy when this started really happening to them. And a bunch of people are stuck on medications, and I think that's a damn shame. But where is my other video? I don't know. I'm gonna look it up again. Let me see. QAnon 60 minutes Australia. Watch how the media portrays this shit.
In the history of 60 minutes, I'm not sure we've ever reported a story that for the most part is pure fantasy. But that's how to best sum up QAnon, an ever-shifting mega conspiracy theory that's bizarre and nonsensical. As wacky as it is, though, millions of people appear to be caught up in the internet-based cult, including more and more Australians. And that means there are dangerous, real-world consequences that demand the rest of us stop scratching our heads in disbelief and start to take serious notice of QAnon.
Do you want to free yourself? It's easy. Follow Q.
If QAnon was a movie script, it would be too far-fetched.
The world is currently witnessing the largest mass treason event in living history.
The world ruled by a cabal of Satan-worshipping elites who prey on children and harvest their blood. With Donald Trump, our...
Are you fucking kidding me? We are in a movie that looks just like that. because this whole world is just one channel on a big fucking TV, pretty much.
Our only saviour, ready to defeat the forces of darkness.
Who risk their lives to achieve this victory against the greatest force of evil the world has ever known.
And that's just the start.
That's just the headline-based theory. It goes so much deeper than that.
Discover the names and faces of the Cabal agents who have colluded to destroy our republic and bend us to their will.
How deep does it go?
The German Chancellor Angela Merkel is Hitler's natural daughter. There's theories about Donald Trump being a time traveler, aliens, any conspiracy theory you've ever heard, including many you haven't, find a home in QAnon.
But I mean, you couldn't have believed that stuff, surely.
I went all the way up to aliens.
Jatath Jadeja is an ordinary guy who fell headlong into this extraordinary world.
This is like an example of somebody getting sucked into the false light. When you start believing this shit, and you start believing this shit, and you hit a dead end at aliens, you are getting sucked into the false light deception. And if this shit's cult-like, if this is a cult, but all of these religions are based off of ancient astronaut theory, and everybody's just accidentally worshipping a bunch of Anunnaki, fallen extraterrestrial, fallen angel gods. Do you see the problem, if that's true?
An economics student who, for 2.5 years, lived and breathed the ultimate conspiracy theory in all its madness. Jatath, how does a guy from suburban Sydney end up down the QAnon rabbit hole?
I was very disconnected from reality, I think, and I just was looking for answers, and that's how I found QAnon. It was all day, every day. It was like QAnon was my job, basically. You just become like that crazy homeless guy on the street shouting about Judgment Day, and you just make an ass out of yourself at all these parties, right? No one wants to talk to you. People are like, oh, it's weird. What are you doing, right?
It all began in December 2017 when Jatath was struggling to finish his degree. He became socially isolated and was drawn to the conspiracies swirling online. Stumbling onto QAnon, he fell for it, hook, line and sinker.
People have heard the same thing about QAnon, like this cabal of elite pedophiles and satanic blah, blah, blah. It's a very dark world.
You thought that politicians were pedophiles?
Yeah, especially, post Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile as well. I definitely thought that there was a cabal of elite pedophiles. This is almost like an existential battle between good and evil, like angels and demons.
It's
Literally.
just fantasy, right? This is not real.
It's not, but then of course not. Like what you do.
But how could you believe it? How could you believe something so
crazy.
fantastical?
What you do is that you want something to be true. I wanted someone to save us.
I think that everybody just wants the truth, and I am so glad I never paid attention to any of this shit. This is hilarious. Look at me running around saying the same shit. Like, that's so funny. Not the same shit. I see that they definitely have some wild shit, and I don't know how in the fuck they're patriotic. And I still kind of think that Trump's like the best shot if Ron DeSantis isn't gonna fucking run, but I don't like him. I don't like anybody anymore. I don't like anybody that half the fucking country is going to hate. This is the problem.
To comprehend how someone could believe the unbelievable, you first have to understand how QAnon works and just how seductive this parallel world can be.
QAnon is a cult-like conspiracy theory that holds that a military intelligence insider is using a variety of message boards to leak clues to an upcoming purge of the deep state.
You've lost me already. It's sort of hard to keep up.
It is. Anytime you spend any kind of time talking about this in any kind of depth, people just immediately glaze over. And that's one of the reasons why it's been so hard to get people to take it seriously. It's because it is so bizarre.
Mike Rothschild is a leading writer and researcher on conspiracy theories who spent the past year trying to make sense of it all.
QAnon can get as crazy as you want it to be. If you want to believe that Joe Biden is a clone, if you want to believe that John F. Kennedy Jr. has been hiding in a bunker for 20 years, if you want to believe that the Earth is part of a galactic federation of light, that's all.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god, there are so many fucking medical doctors talking about the Galactic Federation. I'm so fucking annoyed.
All there for you.
That's why we have Q.
Oh wow.
The good guys with control over the NSA began the Q intelligence dissemination program to invoke an online grassroots movement that came to be called the Great Awakening.
The original prophecy of QAnon is that Donald Trump is going to unleash a purge, a mass arrest of the pedophile cabal that runs the world. Well, Donald Trump can't do that anymore. But they're not going to give up on believing QAnon. Sure. They've come too far. They've sacrificed too much. This is too much a part of who they are to walk away from it.
Save our children!
Precise numbers are impossible to gauge, but millions of people are thought to be caught up in QAnon's wacky beliefs.
There are people in QAnon who are really just concerned about children. There are people in QAnon who really just hate Hillary Clinton. And there are people who do want to overthrow the government. So it appeals to almost everybody, and it really is almost anybody that can be sucked into it.
We'll be looking into that over the next short period.
Incredibly, it all stems from a single offhand comment made by Donald Trump in October 2017.
He was having dinner with a bunch of uniformed military higher-ups, and he said,
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
This could be the calm before the storm.
What's the storm? Could be the calm before the storm.
And the press was like, what are you talking about?
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Now, in reality, he wasn't saying anything. That's what Donald Trump did as president. He just said stuff. But people wanted there to be a storm. People wanted there to be the punishment of enemies. And it caught on very quickly because of that.
On forums in the darkest recesses of the internet, vague and cryptic messages began to be posted, supposedly by a mysterious figure known as Q. Crumbs of information that were shared and deciphered by an online army eager to interpret their meaning.
It was like a Tom Clancy novel happening right outside your door, and then people wanted to be part of that.
Spawning ever more outlandish explanations about what.
So when you wake up and you realize that they put the truth in front of us in all these movies, and when you look at the show, The Handmaid's Tale, you see Canada really trying to look like good guys, and you see them calling the United States Gilead, and you see a bunch of women being held down and raped, and you see a bunch of shit, and then you watch these women and how they communicate through a whole little raven system because the really fucking bad guys are trying to get them. That's why people start talking like this, because they realize that they are in A Handmaid's Tale. We are in all of these movies, and we are watching ourselves going through all of this bullshit, and it's happening right in fucking front of us, and you can't fucking realize it.
What was really going on?
The followers think of themselves as geniuses, as sort of playing this 5D high-level chess that Donald Trump also plays. But the reason why QAnon is so convoluted is actually the same reason why a lot of conspiracy theories are really convoluted. The more details you add to something, the more real it sounds.
So is the idea that the rest of us are ignorant if we don't understand it?
Yes, the rest of us are asleep, but the Q people want to wake us up. They don't want to hurt us, they want to teach us. They want us to join them. And that's one of the things that's so appealing about QAnon is this idea of secret knowledge. This idea that I know something that you don't know powers so much of conspiratorial thought.
The only thing Q wants you to do is think for yourself and expand your thinking and find out for yourself. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
Turbocharged by fears about COVID, QAnon has found fertile ground here in Australia.
This is between good and evil, and we
Pulling believers from every walk of life. Michelle.
Did every American see the amount of children that Child Protective Services has lost information on, and literally lost, on top of the whole 800,000 kids go missing in this fucking country that's supposed to be so wonderful? You guys still don't see the fucking problem with keeping the news on. My family members would rather keep the fucking news on than listen to a fucking word I'm trying to say.
Michelle Gilman is a hard-working single mum who's raised 2 kids. Back in QAnon's early days, at the age of 51, she headed down the rabbit hole into a warren of unconventional thinking where nothing is quite as it seems.
Once I discovered an alternative narrative, it really started to change the way I think. I mean, there's 4,953 Q posts.
And you work through every one of them?
I've read every one of them, yeah. Or I've listened to someone interpret every one of them.
So for you, Q is a person?
Q's more than one person, and I believe it's a team of people with very high level intelligence clearance. And that comes through with some of the posts that Q has put out.
It's time to research for yourself. You will find many things, among them an unprecedented number.
With the dedication of a scholar, Michelle has studied this alternate reality, forming her own worldview, very different to that of mainstream society.
It probably makes me sound like a conspiracy theorist, and I'm quite happy to wear that tag if people want me to be that. But
Are you a conspiracy theorist?
no, I just believe in questioning. I was always a bit suspicious about the 9/11 thing.
So you don't believe 9/11 happened?
Oh, I don't know whether it did or not. It hasn't been proven either way. I don't know who the people were that flew planes in. The murder of JFK, the murder of JFK Jr.
You think there was a deep state conspiracy behind that?
I think there's a deep state group of people that are behind that, yeah. This could get me into big trouble, you know.
What?
Giving up this being on television talking about this sort of stuff.
Why?
Well, because there are a lot of people that don't want that information to come out.
It may have begun as an online conspiracy, but the shockwaves of QAnon have already spread far beyond the virtual world. Not only did it support...
I think there was a pretty good amount of actors here acting like a bunch of patriots, fucking shit up. Why they would do that? Why else would they do that? I mean, the cops let these people in, so it was a little random that some people dressed up as patriots seem to be such terrible people. That many Black Lives Matter protesters, can you fucking imagine what would have happened? But these guys are the assholes. All right.
Reporters lead the storming of the US Capitol building. Kidnaps, assassination plots, and murder have all been linked to QAnon fanatics, including this bombing in Nashville on Christmas Day, carried out by a man convinced the world is controlled by a race of reptiles disguised as humans.
Yeah. When you have memories of not being on this planet, and you have memories of big fucking reptilians invading your world, it really makes you understand that, oh yeah, there's actually a lot of medical doctors out here talking about these fucking reptilians. Cryptids, all kinds of shit, skinwalkers.
You know, while we may say it's foreign to Australia, it's not. It's here, and there are people here who believe this stuff.
Nick Caldis is a former top cop who is concerned about what could happen here in Australia.
Islamic patriots just trying to break free from the prison of the mind that was created for them.
Not only do authorities now have to recognise what a threat it is, but they've got to act. You can't ignore it anymore. I think we have seen, obviously, right-wing extremism and really nutty conspiracy theorists before, but the magnitude and the reach and their ability to influence people is probably unprecedented. So it's no longer just a very fringe group that you can discount and say, well, they're just a bunch of nuts. They are having an impact, and I don't for a minute doubt that there are a number in Australia who may ultimately move from rhetoric to some sort of action.
As a counter-terrorism expert, Nick sees strong parallels with Islamic terror and believes we need to monitor QAnon with a similar vigilance. Should police be
Patriots being upset that our children are being eaten, and you are conscious and you know this, or you are asleep and you don't believe it. People being scared about the welfare of our children, being labeled as dangerous, as Islamic terrorists. That's funny. I think that we should label them way, way less dangerous than the Catholic terrorists and these Jewish terrorists. They try to make Islamists look like they are the worst fucking people. And they actually, when you look through history, they look like fucking kittens that purr and lick your hand compared to the fucking Jews and Catholics. This is a fucking problem, and they're all cults. Everything's a fucking cult.
be treating QAnon in the same way they would treat a terrorist organisation?
I would argue yes, simply because they're capable of inspiring, commissioning.
They are capable of inspiring, period, is the problem.
And encouraging others to do things in support of them or their beliefs.
Yeah, it's alarming when you think that a fringe conspiracy theory can get to the point where it becomes a global threat.
Absolutely. And you see it in terrorism, where a lot of people who inspire others to do this stuff are not prepared to put themselves in danger, but they're happy to send kids in suicide vests to go and do it on their behalf. I wouldn't put that sort of selfishness apart from QAnon. I think they're...
I want to fucking assault this tablet. Not that guy or anything, but hearing this shit pisses me off.
They're very capable of it.
Trump supporters are not violent people. Q supporters are not violent people.
Did what happened at the Capitol not seem violent to you?
Yeah, it was pretty outrageous, but there's a lot that's not being told.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that's not being told.
Michelle?
I'm over it. I really, can't even fucking believe this shit. This is what happens to people when they wake up and they realize that they are in a simulated dream reality. They want to fucking get the monsters that are eating our children out of power. And that's threatening to them. So then they put all of this bullshit together to make these people look like fucking idiots. What about Scientologists? That's acceptable, huh? Scientology's acceptable. Everybody worshiping the biblical God Yahweh is worshiping an Anunnaki, extraterrestrial. We're in the middle of a fucking galaxy. We are in the middle of space. Obviously, there are fucking extraterrestrials, and guess what? A lot of them are in bodies, and they are angels called star seeds trying to fucking help in whatever ways they do. Everybody has a bunch of different opinions and shit, but yeah, that's why they attacked. That's why they're attacking these people. They might not all be right. I'll probably never go look at anything they have to say. I don't know how they're fucking patriotic, but steaming puddle of shit.